welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are really wading into, well, maybe the most polarized debate right now. The future of work. Is AI coming for your job? I mean, is it this ruthless executioner, or is it more like a powerful collaborator, maybe even creating jobs? The forecasts are all over the place. Massive anxiety on one side, huge optimism on the other. So our mission today is to try and cut through some of that noise. We're going to dig into the latest, pretty rigorous research, and we'll be looking specifically at this groundbreaking benchmark called GDPval. And what's different is it measures AI performance not on, abstract tests, but on real-world tasks, stuff that actually generates economic value.
Yeah, that polarization you mentioned, it's really key to understanding the whole landscape right now. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got these stark warnings coming from the very people building the tech, like Dario Amodei. He's the CEO of Anthropic. He was pretty blunt recently. He predicted advanced AI could slice the number of U.S. entry-level jobs by half.
Half. Wow.
Yeah, within just 5 years. That's a really specific and kind of dire prediction about displacement.
That really does sound like a doomsday scenario, especially for service and knowledge work. But what's the other side? The sunny counterpoint. Because, historically, technology usually ends up being framed as a net positive eventually.
Oh, the optimism is just as massive. Look at the World Economic Forum. They surveyed about 1,000 large companies globally.
Yeah.
And guess what? AI was identified as the #1 driver of potential job creation looking out to 2030.
Job creation, not destruction.
Creation. Their numbers suggest something like 170 million new jobs globally. Now, that far outweighs the 92 million jobs they think might be lost.
Yeah.
So a net positive.
Yeah.
But these, completely opposing forces make it incredibly confusing if you're trying to plan your career, right? Or
Sure.
you just understand what's happening. Ethan Mollick, who's a leading voice here, points out that, yeah, historically tech has created more jobs than it destroyed, but, and this is the important bit, he has this crucial caveat, AI is a novel test.
Meaning it's different this time.
Potentially. It's fundamentally different from, say, the steam engine or the computer. And he warns, pretty starkly, we just don't know the shape of that future job market. We just don't.
And we don't even have to wait 5 years to see this sort of duality playing out. You can see the labor market shifting now. Look at job listings. The share of AI-specific jobs on places like Glassdoor, it more than doubled from 2023 to 2024.
Doubled.
And then climbed another 56% just this year so far. I mean, that growth is absolutely blistering. It really confirms that optimism side, doesn't it? And when you look closer at where these new jobs are appearing, you can kind of break them down into maybe two main categories. First, you've got what you might call retrofitted roles. These are existing jobs, established positions like software engineers or maybe corporate lawyers, but now they're specializing in AI. AI integration, AI regulation, governance, that kind of thing. Familiar roles, just with a new tech layer.
Right. But then there's that second category, solely AI roles. These are totally new positions, designed from the ground up, specifically to make AI work better or safer. Think about AI training specialists or model alignment experts, prompt engineers. Well, maybe not prompt engineers anymore. Yeah, but this specific category of brand new work, listings for these, grew 4 times over in 2024. And they're still seeing really high accelerating growth in 2025. But what's fascinating, and it really shows the speed of all this, is how quickly some roles popped up and then, poof, vanished. While those broader AI training roles are booming, some of those early super sophisticated AI jobs, they're already fading out.
Like prompt engineering.
Exactly. Listings for prompt engineers, the people who are masters of crafting the perfect query, they've mostly gone away. That skill, which felt so cutting edge, 18 months ago, it seems like it's largely just been absorbed into the general skill set needed to use AI effectively now.
That rapid cycling, the sort of boom and bust of prompt engineering, it really underlines the volatility, doesn't it? And why planning is so incredibly difficult right now. David Otter, he studies labor economics. He notes that forecasters are actually notoriously bad at predicting the completely new kinds of work that will emerge.
Right.
They're usually only good at predicting how current work might change or adapt, not the stuff that doesn't exist yet. Which brings us right back to the core challenge. How do you make informed decisions when the ground feels like it's shifting almost weekly? You can't really build a career on guesswork, and that's why Ethan Mollick's warning hits so hard. The worst thing you could do right now, he says, is make a complex career decision based on what AI is doing today because we just don't know. We need something more solid, concrete, objective data on what AI can actually do, not just adoption rates or hype.
And that need, that necessity, brings us right to the heart of our discussion today. The GDPval benchmark. We needed a better way to measure things because, like you said, the traditional AI benchmarks,
Yeah.
they're often a bit like academic tests, aren't they? They measure skills like reasoning or maybe math, but kind of in isolation.
Right, like a test in a vacuum.
Exactly. GDPval is different. It's designed to be a leading indicator tied directly to tasks that have real, measurable economic value. We're talking actual work product, the time it takes, the cost involved. It gives you directly attributable evidence about model abilities before these things are rolled out everywhere. It's like simulating the actual office environment, not just giving the AI a pop quiz.
And the scope sounds pretty huge, too. It wasn't just focused on one niche area.
No, not at all. It's immense, really designed to cover a big chunk of the U.S. knowledge economy. This study looked at 44 different occupations across the top 9 sectors contributing to U.S. GDP. So it's not just coding or, creative writing. It's looking at really broad swaths of the professional world.
And the methodology, I think this is what makes it so powerful and frankly a little bit scary. These tasks weren't just dreamt up by researchers, right?
No, absolutely not. They were constructed by expert industry professionals, people who had, on average, 14 years of experience in their specific field.
14 years, so they knew exactly what a high-quality piece of work looked like in their domain.
Precisely. They weren't guessing. And we're talking about genuinely complex, real-world stuff.
No.
The tasks often involve manipulating lots of different formats, not just text. Things like CAD files, video clips, audio, slide decks. Sometimes the models had to sift through, I think, up to 38 different reference files just to get the context right.
Wow.
And crucially, these were tasks designed to take an average human expert about 7 hours to complete. Some of the really high-end ones could even span multiple weeks of effort.
Just think about that for a second. 7 hours of an expert's work, someone with over a decade of experience, condensed potentially into a single prompt run for an AI model. And then the grading, the evaluation was just as rigorous, wasn't it?
Absolutely, it was all blinded. A head-to-head comparison. Human experts reviewed the AI's output side by side with the output from another human expert without knowing which was which.
Right.
And they weren't just checking for, factual correctness. They were grading all those subjective things that really matter in a professional setting. Structure, style, formatting, the overall professional aesthetics. Does it look right? Does it feel right?
Okay, so after this huge, rigorous comparison, the big reveal, what did GDPval actually show? What are the top models like Claude Opus 4.1 and the latest GPT models capable of right now?
Well, the headline finding is pretty sobering. The best frontier models available right now are essentially neck and neck with human industry experts when it comes to the quality of the final deliverable. Specifically, the top model they tested, which is Claude Opus 4.1, it matched or actually outperformed the human experts in 47.6% of the deliverables, on the gold subset of tasks anyway.
Wait, hang on. Let's just pause there. Almost half the time. 47.6%. The AI's work was judged to be as good as or better than the work of an expert human with, 14 years of experience on average?
That's right.
Okay. If you're running a business, that number represents a huge immediate potential for saving time and money, for boosting efficiency. But if you're a professional in one of those fields, that number represents, palpable economic vulnerability, doesn't it?
It certainly suggests that. And what's maybe equally significant is that the study found the performance of these frontier models, particularly OpenAI's, has been increasing roughly linearly over time.
So it's not plateauing, it's a steady climb.
It looks like a predictable climb towards, and maybe beyond, human parity on these kinds of tasks. And that vulnerability, it's highly concentrated across those 44 jobs they tested. You see major displacement risk, especially in roles that involve a lot of routine digital production, generating reports, standardized communications, that sort of thing. Just look at some of the examples where AI had the highest win rates. Counter and retail clerks AI outperformed them 81% of the time in the tasks tested.
81%.
Sales managers, shipping clerks, both around 80%. Editors, 75%. And here's where it gets maybe a bit surprising for some people. High-skill, often high-wage knowledge workers.
Yeah.
Software developers, private investigators. AI outperformed the human expert in 70% of the trials for those roles.
70% for software developers and private investigators. I have to admit, I would have maybe expected those roles to be a bit safer. I mean, one involves fieldwork, interviews, human interaction. The other involves deep conceptual problem-solving creativity. Why so vulnerable, according to this benchmark?
Yeah, it's a good question. Because GDPval was specifically focused on the digital knowledge components of those jobs. So for a private investigator, that might mean doing high-volume background research online, synthesizing information from lots of different documents, maybe drafting detailed reports, stuff AI can do.
Okay.
And for a software developer, it might mean writing boilerplate code, finding bugs, migrating data sets between formats. Again, tasks where AI excels at synthesizing information and producing structured output very quickly.
But it wasn't all bad news for the humans, right? Where did the models struggle? Not all jobs are created equal in the face of AI.
No, exactly. We definitely saw resistance, particularly in roles demanding high levels of creativity or complex leadership functions. Take the information sector in the study. This included jobs like film directors, producers, journalists. There, the AI win rate was only about 33%, a third of the time.
Much lower.
Much lower.
Yeah.
These roles require navigating huge amounts of ambiguity, real high-level creative input, complex interpersonal strategy, functions where right now the human seems pretty irreplaceable.
It was also interesting to see that different models had different kinds of strengths.
Yeah, that came through clearly. Claude, the Opus 4.1 model, was the best overall performer in the study, and it particularly excelled on aesthetics.
Aesthetics, you mean like making things look good?
Pretty much. Document formatting, getting slide layouts right, that kind of professional polish.
Yeah.
Subjective stuff, but important. GPT-5, on the other hand, its strength was more in accuracy, following complex, multi-step instructions really well, getting calculations correct.
But crucially, even with these different strengths, they still needed guidance, right? They weren't perfect.
Oh, definitely not. Despite how intelligent they seem, they absolutely require clear guidance. The single most common reason that human experts rejected the model deliverables across all models, all tasks, was simply failure to fully follow the instructions given.
Okay.
So the models are incredibly powerful, but they're not mind readers. You really need to define the rails, the requirements, very precisely.
And this need for human definition, human guidance, that's precisely where the potential economic gains seem to lie, isn't it? It's about efficiency paired with human oversight.
Absolutely. The study looked into scenarios like what they call the try and times then fix it yourself model. Basically, let the AI take a few shots, then have a human clean it up. And the analysis strongly suggests that pairing AI assistance, even flawed assistance, with expert human oversight can save substantial time and money compared to just having an expert start from a blank page.
So the AI does the first draft, the heavy lifting maybe, and the human perfects it.
That seems to be the most promising model right now.
Yes.
The AI generates, the human validates and refines, and importantly, those failures, when they happen, are usually manageable. When GPT-5 failed on a task in these tests, the most common rating from the secondary human experts was acceptable but subpar.
Okay, so not great, but not disastrous.
Exactly. Only about 3% of all the failures were rated as catastrophic, meaning, dangerously wrong or actively harmful. So, yeah, the risk of using these tools completely unsupervised is clearly high, but the severity of the failure, when supervised, seems usually low. It's correctable.
And here's where it gets really interesting for me, showing that these tools aren't static and how much impact human intervention can have. Simple steps can dramatically boost performance, like just asking the model to put in more reasoning effort, low, medium, high, that improve performance predictably, makes sense.
Right. Think harder, get better results.
But even simpler things, what the researchers called prompt tuning or scaffolding, yielded massive gains. Think of scaffolding like giving a brilliant but maybe slightly erratic intern a really detailed checklist. You're giving the AI a structure, guardrails to follow. For example, just tweaking the prompt for GPT-5, encouraging it to check its own work visually, that completely eliminated artifact errors in PDF outputs, which had previously affected over half of them.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah. And it also slashed those really egregious formatting errors in PowerPoint files from 86% down to 64%. That's a colossal performance jump, just by asking the model to essentially look at its own work through a human lens.
And these results, they really underline that the human expert's most valuable role, right now anyway, might be defining the context and navigating ambiguity. The study clearly showed that model performance dropped off significantly when they were given less context, or sort of underspecified prompts.
So ambiguity is the enemy of current AI.
It seems to be a major hurdle. That ability to articulate exactly what's needed, to frame the problem correctly, and then critically, to check the final product for professional quality and nuance that seems to be the critical, economically valuable function that humans really own right now.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you listening? The GDPval benchmark gives us some pretty direct, compelling evidence. AI models are clearly capable right now of matching or even exceeding expert human performance in specific, quite complex digital knowledge work tasks. The threat of automation isn't some abstract future thing. It looks real and immediate for certain roles, especially those heavy on routine digital production. That 70% vulnerability for tasks within software development or private investigation, that's hard data. But, and it's a big but, the research also confirms this dual reality. The final outcome, whether a task is ultimately a win or a loss for the AI, or whether it's a net gain for a business, seems to depend heavily on human intervention, on oversight, on how well the models are prompted and contextualized. It feels like we're entering a transition phase defined by human-AI collaboration, not necessarily immediate wholesale replacement across the board.
Yeah, and if you connect this specific study back to those grand sweeping forecasts we started with, the belief in AI's ultimate scalable capability is why you still hear people like Sam Altman expressing such a high view of AI's potential disruption. He's on record believing AI could eventually automate as much as 40% of all jobs, including potentially even the CEO role itself.
40%, wow.
Right. It's a huge number. And this GDPval study, I think, starts to show us the precise task-by-task mechanism by which that kind of large-scale automation could happen. But it also shows how much it depends on how effective human scaffolding, human oversight, and human context setting become in the next few years. It's not just about the AI's capability in isolation.
Thank you for joining us today.